and then South Carolina, and then Michigan and Arizona. And so I'm going to contest in every single state.
And to the McCain and McCain people who say, listen, what this demonstrates is that John McCain has the stronger appeal for independent and swing voters, and therefore he would be the better Republican candidate to face an Al Gore or a Bill Bradley in November.
Yes, I mean, he's got a better appeal for independent voters in the state of New Hampshire. But there are 49 other states, including big states like Texas and Florida and California, where I believe I'm going to run really well. This is John's night. I mean, I gave him all the credit in the world, and but there's a lot of contests left to go, and I'm looking forward to waging. I say to my friends, I'm coming south, and I look forward to seeing you.
Why would anyone believe that any Republican candidate, you or otherwise, could beat a strong Democratic candidate when we've had such a strong economy and had such a strong economy for so long?
You bet. And that's a legitimate question. It's something, whoever the nominee, the case is going to have to be made. Prosperity alone is not what America should be all about. We got to make sure our schools are teaching our children. We got to make sure our military is strong to keep the peace. We got to make sure there's a clear and coherent foreign policy so that the world knows where America stands. And we got to usher in the responsibility era. So, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why a Republican candidate can win. But it's going to be a tough race.
Now, John McCain adjusted his basic message here in New Hampshire. He expanded it to say, in effect, George Bush is a very good man. I salute him for winning the governorship, but I, John McCain, am ready to lead now. No on-job training. Said, I think this is a direct quote, George Bush may not yet be ready for prime time, and I, John McCain, am stronger in foreign policy, stronger in military affairs. What say you?
I say he's been a fine United States senator. He's cut his teeth in Washington politics, and I come from the outside. I've led the second biggest state in the Union. I've done what I said I would do in office. And I'm going to remind people, I didn't do a very good job of this, but I need to remind people that 35 of John McCain's colleagues, 35 United States senators who are Republicans, have taken a look at both of us and said, we think George W. ought to lead. But that's what a contest is all about. The thing that I think I can do for our party is unite us and lead us to victory and lead us to a more hopeful and optimistic tomorrow, and that's what I intend to do.
Governor George Bush, thank you. We're going to turn to John McCain.
Thank you, sir.
We'll see you in South Carolina and Delaware before.
I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. And now, joining me is the big winner in New Hampshire tonight, congratulated by Governor George Bush here on the program, Senator John McCain. Senator, congratulations on a big win in New Hampshire. But Governor Bush says it's just a bump in the road. He'll beat you in New Hampshire, beat you in Delaware, beat you in Michigan, beat you in Arizona. What say you?
Well, I say that I appreciate the graciousness that he has displayed over this contest in New Hampshire. I look forward to South Carolina, where we're already seeing significant traction, and we're going to have a great time. This is what American politics are all about. We've obviously interfered with the coronation, and we're having a great time. And what really worked tonight was not the fact that I had town hall meetings, although that was important. The message of taking Washington out of the hands of the special interests and the big money people and giving it back to the people of this country. That's the message of reform and the preparedness to lead. And that's why we got, really, I have to tell you, I thought we were going to win, but I never thought we'd get a 16, 17-point margin. Nor did anybody else.
What did it for you, Senator?
The message that I'm going to take the government back, I'm going to break this iron triangle in Washington of lobbyist money and legislation, which has deprived the American people of their representation. And I'm going to lead this country, and I've got a vision for the future that I think has attracted people from every part of the political spectrum. And look, this message tonight is being magnified all over America, including South Carolina, and it's giving us a wonderful opportunity. I don't think that I can't predict to you that I'm going to win the nomination, but I think I can predict to you this would be a very good contest, and I think that I'm going to get the message out and get the government back to the people of this country.
Senator McCain, you're nearly broke in terms of campaign financing. That is, by our estimates, you have less than $2 million left. Governor Bush has an estimated $31 million left and can gain more. Why should anybody believe that over the long pull you can beat it?
Well, first of all, we made, I think we raised $2.5 million just this month. The money's coming in fine. By the way, that's McCain2000.com. Our grassroots support are there. We're raising money at a very satisfactory rate. And look, we never thought we would win the battle of bucks. We thought we'd win the battle of ideas. We're up on television in Michigan. We'll be up soon in California. And I'm very happy with where we are, Dan.
Do you expect the Bush campaign to come at you in a nasty way now, with, if not negative campaigning, at least a more aggressive campaign?
Well, I think we might get intense, but Governor Bush and I had a handshake that we wouldn't run negative ads. He's a good man. I think that one thing the people of New Hampshire have already been telling us, they like the way this campaign was conducted by all of us, no matter who they supported. I think the people in South Carolina will feel the same thing. But I expect it to get somewhat intense, but that's, you know, as somebody once said, this ain't beanbag.
If you don't win in California, in South Carolina, if you don't win in South Carolina, you're finished.
Oh, we'll be there till March 7th. We've got momentum organizations. We've had 50,000 people volunteer to work on our campaign over the internet. I mean, we're everywhere too. We just don't have the establishment. Look, if you want the status quo in Washington, you certainly don't want me as your nominee. And we've got the privates and the corporals and the sergeants, and the Bush campaign has the admirals and the generals. I'll take the sergeants.
Congratulations, Senator McCain. We'll see you along the trail. And we'll be back in a moment with more 60 Minutes 2.
60 Minutes 2 will continue in a moment.
CBS Market Watch Update, sponsored by Charles Schwab.
Good evening. 107 straight months, a record U.S. economic expansion. But interest rates could rise tomorrow. Still, the Dow gained over 100 points today, ditto NASDAQ. And 007's The World Is Not Enough was enough to give MGM its best quarter in 12 years. I'm Anthony Mason, CBS News.
Back again from New Hampshire for 60 Minutes 2. New Hampshire, where John McCain has upset George W. Bush big in the Republican presidential primary. On the Democratic side, another surprise tonight, Vice President Gore, who once appeared to be comfortably in the lead here, barely squeaked out a tight win over Bill Bradley. Now, we had intended to have Vice President Gore on the program. He said he would appear, but we're told he's running behind time. Former Senator Bradley is up in a chair waiting for us to talk to him, but we don't have audio yet, so I'm going to turn to my friend and longtime colleague, Bob Schieffer, in the meantime. Bob, if this changes the dynamic on either or both sides, how?
Well, I think on the Democratic side, and one thing that nobody has talked about is that Bill Bradley, coming very close to beating Al Gore, the vice president here in New Hampshire, comes out of here with more money in the bank than Al Gore has. I'm told that Bill Bradley has about $15 million in the bank now. Al Gore has about $12 million. That is going to help considerably when they get to those big states like California and New York. So the fact that Bradley has come very close here tonight, I think does change the dynamic in that race. And there's no question that this surprise on the Republican side is going to change the dynamic there.
Bob, thanks. I'm told we now have former Senator Bill Bradley with us. Senator, if you're hearing us okay, first of all, congratulations on a strong showing. You finished second, but not by much. Does this change the dynamic of the race in your judgment?
Mr. Bradley, you heard CBS, correct, during the mic check?
Well, we're obviously still having some problems with our audio there, and so, Bob, we'll go back to you.
Can you hear me?
Live television works this way sometimes. Oh, my good ear, I hear you. Well, let's talk about on the Republican side. George Bush has the money, he has the establishment support, he has the organization. What he hasn't had is a big, clear victory. He certainly won in Iowa, but Steve Forbes gave him more trouble than he thought. And here in New Hampshire, he not only loses, he loses double digits. Is he in trouble, or is it, as he put it to us just a moment ago, just a bump in the road?
Well, it may be more than a bump in the road. It may be a big chug hole in the road here, it seems to me, because, yes, George Bush is well organized. Every indication we have is that he's ahead of John McCain in South Carolina. But look, the polls there may not be any better than the polls we've been looking at up here.
Well,
I think that this does change the dynamic. I think this race is bound to close in South Carolina. I think it's going to be a real fight down there.
And to those who say, look, it's inevitable, it's going to be Bush against Gore, what's your own analysis?
Well, I think if I had to bet right now, that's probably what I'd bet. But as we're seeing along the way here, we're seeing things happen that we didn't think happened. If Bill Bradley goes along here and wins some of these primaries, every time he wins, he's bound to get stronger. I think you can say the same thing about John McCain. I still think probably in the end it's going to be Bush and Gore, but I don't think any of that is certain, Dan.
Agree or disagree that the decisive battleground for the Bradley campaign now shapes up as New York on March 7th?
I think New York and California. I think he's got to do very, very well in both of those states. And if he doesn't win New York, he has absolutely got to win California, it seems to me.
Now, the independents are what they're the people who did it for both McCain and Bradley, but especially for McCain. What about the argument that McCain has now pierced at least a little the sense that Bush is the best candidate to take on the Democratic nominee?
Well, I mean, the whole idea that it was inevitable that Bush was going to win here, that he was invincible, I think we now see that that is not true. The Bush campaign is going to have to sharpen up things, and my guess is you're going to see a little more assertive campaign. I'm not going to say they're going to go on the attack, but I think you'll see them sharpen their message here.
Bob Schieffer, thanks. With apologies for our audio problems and the fact that Vice President Gore couldn't get here on time, we'll be back with another edition of 60 Minutes 2 next week. From Bedford, New Hampshire, Dan Rather with Bob Schieffer. Thanks for joining us. Good night.